Welcome to SI 2.3 WISC. How do I create a bar graph? And so we're going to be working on that today on how we create a bar graph. And we're going to move on to our first review of it. What we have here is we have a pizza toppings, and over what we did the last couple of days is identifying what parts of the graph we have. I need to make sure I have all 6 parts. So we have here a favorite pizza toppings. We got a title. We got an X, which is across. We have the Y-axis. We have our scale. Good. We have our data. We see a graph here. It's showing there. Awesome. Do we have an X-axis label? I look here at the X-axis. Remember, that's the horizontal crisscross left-right axis. We got pizza toppings, so we're good. And do I have, do I have a y-axis label here? Not 2 X's. I have a y-axis label right here. So I have all the things here. So this has all the parts for a good graph. And so this here is a bar graph. It is called a bar graph because it uses, and in your notes our blank is, bars or columns as visuals to compare data. And so in there we have our groups as the types of pizza toppings. So we got votes for cheese pizza, mushroom pizza, sausage pizza, pepperoni pizza, and our y-axis, which is our dependent variable, is the number of orders that we get. So we have all these different orders here. So as a reminder, a bar graph uses bars or columns to compare groups and data. Okay, and so we have those parts here. We see the same thing here. I can look here and say, well, which one is the least amount of police officers in that year? I can look here and see, okay, 1996, it has the lowest bar, therefore it is the least amount. But I could also look here, and if I wanted to zoom in on this, I probably could, and figure out, well, which years was 1999 more than, and I look here and I could just compare. So I can read a bar graph by comparing the heights of the bars to compare pieces of data there. So it's very important to know how to do that. Our example we're going to be doing is student birthdays by quarter, and so I want you to put these marks on here. I think we have 8 birthdays in January. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 birthdays in April through June. That's the second quarter. And then we got 2 for the third, and then we got 5 for the fourth quarter. Now these aren't scholarly quarters like we have for first, second, third, and fourth quarter, where they end in June. These are more like fiscal quarters. Like in business, they have the first fiscal quarter of the year, which is January through March, and then all those different things there. So we set it up that way. And so in your data table, I want you to tally these up and have this mark here. We're going to create a bar graph based on this data here. So I look here and I have a bar graph. So I look, what I'm going to do is first title it. So and I'm going to put the quarters. So I'm going to put here is my first quarter. So I'm going to put Q1. And so this area here, this table going up is going to be the first quarter, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and I must have a label. So we're going to call those quarters. Okay, and then we need to figure out, well, this is going to be the number of students. That's our y-axis label. Number is NO of students. And then I need to figure out a scale. Now for this one here, I see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, and my largest piece of data is 12. So if I were to count each one of these by ones, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Would I have enough to get all those? No, I still have to get all the way up to 12, so I'd be all the way up here. So counting by ones for my scale wouldn't work. But let's see if I count by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I would have enough if I counted by twos. So another way to think about scale is figure out what your maximum value is. In our case, it's 12. You want to think about the max value. And then you want to divide it up so that you can show the most on this graph. You want to get the most out of it. I'm going to talk about that later in a second video. But we're going to count off by twos. 10, 12, 14. And then all I simply do is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use the parts here, and I'm going to make them red and black lines. Okay, so I'm going to use my data table. So I have 8 in the first quarter, so I'm going to make a graph here that goes up to 8. Quarter 2 is 12, so I'm going to go to where 12 is. Make that. Quarter 3 is only 2, so where my line at the y-axis shows 2, I'm going to match that with quarter 3. And then quarter 4 is 5, but I don't see a line here for 5, but I do see one for 6 and one for 4. So midpoint would be 5, so I'm going to make a line here for the midpoint. And that's a very important thing to remember. I need to, if there isn't a piece of data that's exactly on a line, that's okay. The thing is, we need to estimate as to where it probably would be. Okay. And with that, what you did was we just finished creating a bar graph. First, we decided on the title, we tallied up the data, we figured out the y and axes labels, and we decided on a scale that would best show our data. Okay, so we want to try to get the most out of it. So in your WISC, you're going to fill out your name, your ID, and all that stuff. And then you're going to answer this question. When do we use bar graphs above all other types of data? That's what we're going to be doing in there. And then if you have any questions or thick questions that you want answered or that you would like to quiz someone on, you're going to fill those in the thick question box. So with that, we're going to finish up with 2.3 on how to create a bar graph. Thank you very much for watching.